one set of notes, Beck?
I'll shoot it over to you.
Oh, you Alright, you guys, let's go ahead and get started. Is that technology good?
Yes.
Alright, perfect. Thank you guys for coming today.
Thank you
for doing it.
it.
Y'all know I need some energy. Y'all like calm me when I walk in. So, today we're going to teach business strategy. That's not the title. We're going to teach strategies for a shift. Business planning for a shift. So in the past, we've taught business planning, just your traditional goals. What do you want your GCI to be? Number of units. But Becky and I. Decided that due to the shift, the change in the market, that we all needed something different, because we have to change with the market or else we'll get left behind. So
but it's still important that you still run your numbers. How many people in here attended what Terry and Brad taught, I want to say last week or the week before? So everybody has their numbers ready? That's it.
No, that was weak.
I know.
No, that was weak. Okay, raise your hands high if you've already done your business plan for 2019.
Is that if we attended that?
If you attended that, you were a step ahead of the game. If you haven't, be honest, raise your hand. Okay. Okay. Okay.
I would suggest that we could be more specific about if you need to have your GPS or 135. I think that was what was.
You know what? Actually, based on us going over the presentation today, I won't say that we won't be crunching a bunch of numbers today. So we just wanted to get a feel for who was really prepared. So let's talk about who we have in the audience today. What we specifically want to know is how many people in here have closed up to 20 transactions, or you estimate that you will close 20 transactions in 2018. Raise your hand really, really high. Up to.
If you're above.
If you're above, don't raise your hand. Up to. High, guys, high. Up to. Okay, good. How many people here anticipate that they'll close between 20 to 40 transactions in 2018? High, you guys, high. Okay.
Be proud of your numbers.
Yeah. And then how many anticipate you'll close more than 40 transactions? Okay. High. Okay, good. Okay, great. So what we want to know is what do you hope to gain out of this, and then why did you attend? Because we want to make sure that the reason why we're sharing this information with you is in alignment with what you're looking to get. I hope so, because if not, we have to make some quick adjustments up here. So if somebody could raise their hand, just tell me why, what do you hope to get out of this?
I wanted to find out how to better stay in the game in the shifting market.
Okay, have you worked through a shift?
No.
Okay. How many years you been in the business?
5.
Okay, great. You want to know how to stay in the game through the shift. Great. Anybody else? Y'all came in here for something now. Talk to me.
Brad invited us.
All right.
What do you think? Why do you think Brad invited you, or felt like you would have value in attending this class?
To keep the top agents in the game and support each other as we all shift through this market together. It's all about relationships, community in our office.
Jessica?
Personally, I'm here because I've pretty much capped out on, I do basically the same thing every year. And I have been through, I think I've been through 2 shifts. But, and I've been able to, in going to classes like this, from back in the day, see where the shift is going and try to, just kind of add to my current business what's coming, so that, to get ahead of it.
You want to get ahead of the shift. Okay. Specifically with your business. Close number of transactions. You want to.
Well, I want to figure out you know, if I've been through 2 shifts already and I can see that my numbers are staying the same,
Right.
there's got to be more information that I can plug into what I'm already doing,
Right.
because I'm not going down in the shift years. I'm still maintaining the same, but I'm working harder and probably not as smart.
Okay.
So
Are you, I'm just curious, are you maintaining the same units and GCI?
it relatively.
Good job.
Usually the same units.
Okay.
But the GCI goes up and down a little bit.
But naturally, with the market, that makes sense. Okay, Becky, I saw your hand.
I want to increase the units I do per year.
Okay. In the shift. Yes.
I would like to second what Michelle said, that we're all here to help each other, and so appreciate you guys doing this, and find that your energy kind of just seeps in and is very inspiring. And from a shift standpoint, I think the big thing that I would like to get is, in the past, we've worked so hard getting through it, and I would say it was more how to survive. And with this shift, I want to really peel that onion back and look at it differently and say, instead of surviving, how do we all thrive?
She said
Kind
it
of
better.
switch
That's
some of the
what I
words.
Like that. Now we in
That's
alignment.
why I'm here.
Yes. Tosh?
Wanted to get some other perspectives on my value proposition as I present myself to my existing audience. Really adding something different, very similar, piggybacking on what the group has said, but really kind of getting some new energy around my value proposition so that my referrals continue to refer me, like keeping it fresh in a space where it's going to be very trying. So.
Okay, good. I feel like we are going to touch on everything that everybody mentioned. We are definitely in alignment. Would you agree?
Yes.
All right. So we put together this agenda, and then it got a little loose, and then we came back and we had this big aha today, this morning, actually an hour ago, about the 3 main components or characteristics that we believe an agent must have, should aim to have to thrive. We're not talking about surviving a shift. That's victim language. We're talking about thriving through a shift. 3 things, and the first one is mindset. And we throw this word mindset around a lot. And today we're gonna go like real deep. We're gonna get real specific about the type of mindset that you really have to embrace and embody to thrive in a shift. And because the mindset that you have to thrive in a shift is very different from a survival mindset in a shift. Do you guys kind of understand the difference between those two?
Yes.
Yes.
Two designations? Okay, so mindset.
Well, before Amesha jumps into that, let's talk a little bit about why we made the decision to actually do this class as opposed to what we've taught the last couple of years. And it really came down to the other component, which is perspective. During the last shift, what was happening for you, Amesha?
So, the last shift, I lost everything. Like, everything. My marriage, my homes, investment property, my career, per se, my market share, everything. My bank account, car. I even lost my dog in the last shift. Like, everything. I lost everything. And it totally changed the trajectory of my life. So, no longer living in California, got a divorce, moved to Atlanta, ended up at this office.
We're glad you're here.
My life is just like drastically different as a result of the market. Totally changed my life, and it got real bad before it got better. And so, if I can share information in hindsight, as I look back, that would be full. If I look back, had I been better prepared for the shift, I probably wouldn't be working right now. Real talk, I shouldn't even be working. I should be retired. The way I was set up before the shift happened, I should be able to cash out and live off the interest of my investments. And because I had to start from ground zero, first of all, psychologically, I'm not thriving through another shift. Cannot happen. I don't have aptitude to do it. So I'm not losing anything in this next shift. I'm going to thrive. And if I could share that information with you guys so that you don't experience what I experienced,
Your
that's
work
my
will be
contribution
done.
to society. Like, this is for real. If I can save you any of the anguish I experienced through that shift, then I think your life will be in a better place. Not to say that my life is not in a good place right now, because it is, and I learned a lot. But it'd be nice to have learned it and not have to work. It'd be nice to be retired right now teaching you guys versus managing transactions. So that's why I'm really, really passionate about not coming in here wondering what your GCI is for 2019, what your goals are. That's cute, and we need that, but we getting ready to get into some real environmental shifts in the industry, and you really got to be prepared for it, or it will catch you off guard, like suddenly, gradually, and then suddenly. And you look up and the floor will not be underneath you, and you're like, what happened? The race was just 5% yesterday, and now I'm homeless. No, it's real. It is real. So that's why I'm here sharing this information with you guys. Not to scare you, nothing to be afraid about. You just have to embrace the changes that are happening and be like water, right? Be flexible with the environment, the industry. Why are you here?
So I actually had a different experience from Amesha. When the shift occurred, I was actually leaving the business because I wasn't doing well when the market was great, and the shift changed the trajectory for me. I was able to, move into arena, which at that time was short sales and foreclosures, and that's when I started to thrive. So the market shift actually caused and impacted the trajectory of what I'm experiencing today. And a lot of it was just, we go back to, what do you think the difference was? And what I realized is it's likely because I didn't know what I didn't know at that time, and it was easier and made more possible for me to look for opportunities in this market. And my skills and really where I felt like my value proposition showed up as a result of the market going down. And so if any of you haven't ever experienced a class where Amesha and I have taught together, one of the things that you guys will probably notice about us is that, one, we have completely different types of business. We do business differently. We look at business differently, and yet what's powerful for the both of us, and not just when we're up here, but also when we're in our own businesses, is that we're constantly challenging each other's thinking. We're constantly challenging the how are you doing business and what are you doing with regards to your business that causes us to, I think, shift more frequently and adapt accordingly to ensure that we're looking for our blind sites, our blind spots at all time. And that's really what our conversation for today is going to be. It isn't just about us telling you what our perspective is, it's us challenging you to dig deeper into your business and identify what are your blind spots, what are your opportunities as well, because the best part of what we're experiencing right now is we're not really in a complete shift. We're seeing changes in the market, and this is an opportunity to make sure we're staying ahead of it. And that's really what our conversation is going to be about today, okay? Mindset. Amesha.
So what's in, Kevin?
We're throwing this word shift around very loosely. And I think we're really in two shifts. Where the first shift is the market that we're in, and realizing that we've got to prepare buyers and sellers, and we have new scripts that we've got to work on. But the second shift is the whole industry.
Right.
And,
we're gonna address
that's a whole nother gamut that we really got to look at, because this industry is going to be so different in 5 years.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that's why many of our colleagues are in denial about the shift, because they're still closing transactions, they're still making money, still going on vacation. But what shift? Business is great. But what has changed is how you do business has shifted. The way that you acquire business, or how much or the blind spot is how much business didn't you acquire because it went to a knock or an open door or a Zillow lead. So we're gonna get to that, Kevin. That's a great point. Mindset is the way. So you guys notice how two different agents, two different business models, two different businesses, two different mindsets. She throw the word. She thrived. I didn't think so. She thrived in the shift, and the shift was my demise. So the difference is perception. Is perception. How many agents in here are in the business less than a year? Okay, so in my opinion, they have an advantage, right? Because they have no reference of how easy it's been for us over the past 5 years. All they know is they're coming in the business today. What does it take to get business today, right? They have no reference of put a house on the market today, it's sold tomorrow. So if they come in a year from now and the average days on market is 60 to 75 days, that's their normal. They're coming into the market, hopefully developing a plan to manage listings for 60 days. Whereas a lot of seasoned agents, when I say seasoned, you've been in the business the last 7 years, you've not had to manage sellers more than 30 days. Maybe 45 if the first transaction terminated, right? So they're coming in developing a skill set consistent with the market conditions, whereas we are having to adapt. And habits are sometimes hard to break. So I don't want to go on a tangent, but perception of the way you see yourself, your business, and your market all impacts the way you engage your client. How you engage your client impacts your success, your bottom line, your GCI. I can't speak enough about how important it is to protect your mindset around the market conditions. How you see the market as it's shifting, and how quickly you can adapt and embrace the change. And what we discovered is having absolutely no judgment on the market. So what days on market are longer? So what interest rates are higher? Don't have any judgment on that. That doesn't mean, that doesn't mean that it's bad. So we looked up the definition of shift, and it's move or cause to move from one place to another, or a change in emphasis and direction or focus of. Can anybody tell me if shift is good or bad? Based on this definition, the Webster's definition. Is shift good or bad? It's neutral, right? Shift only becomes bad if you perceive it as bad. You have to give it that definition for it to be good or bad, right? Because moving from one place to another, that's the same as interest rates going from 3 to 4, from 4 to 5. Days on market going from 30 to 60, or from 60 to 15. It's just movement. There's no judgment on it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that by its very definition, movement in the market just moves the opportunity from one place to another.
That's it. And one of the biggest mistakes I made, y'all write this down. The biggest mistake I made in the last shift was to hanker down, focus, and just try to get from one spot to the next. I was just trying to move from one deal to the next. Close this deal to this deal. Pay the mortgage. Pay the car note. Make sure the license on. I was so focused on following the shift that I didn't have the wherewithal to see the opportunity in the shift. I didn't see the opportunity. Meanwhile, my clients were buying properties 50 cents on the dollar. And I was too lazy to being focused, just trying to close transactions. Because I was influenced by the perception that the market is bad, the market is tanking, property values are decreasing. I made property values decreasing mean that my income was gonna reduce. I didn't make it mean this is a great time to pick up properties. Why didn't I do that? Because I wasn't financially in a position to do so. One of the benefits that people who are not in the real estate industry have is that they are less impacted by the shift, their income. If you are not married or have a secondary income, when the market shifts, your income shifts. Like Jessica says, I'm doing the same units, which is admirable, but the GCI has gone down. Why? Because the property values have gone down and you make a percentage of the value of the property, right? So when the market shifts, I wasn't financially positioned to pick up any properties. Half of my income went with it. If the market went down 70%, my income went down 70%. So now I'm not even positioned to see the opportunities that were right in front of me. Are you guys tracking with me?
Yes.
Okay. So the shift in the market was probably the best thing that could happen. More millionaires were made in that shift than ever before, because they were positioned to take advantage of the opportunity in front of them. All right? It's very important to protect your mindset and see the market shifting. I would like to see it as a gift. At the very least, see it as neutral. Don't have any judgment on it. Just because it's not what it was a year ago or 2 months ago, don't let that seep into your mindset, because it's going to impact how you engage your client and how you run your business and how you show up for work. For those of you who have worked the shift, how many days did you wake up and you was like, I don't even feel like going in there today. Like, I just don't even want to talk to anybody. It's not. For those of you who work the shift, it's important for you guys to participate in this. Tashma?
Many.
How many
of you work twice as hard?
Oh my God.
3 times
At least
as hard.
twice as hard.
For an
not
eighth
three
of the
times.
money.
For an
Just
eighth of the money.
Yeah. So just imagine if you were to wake up tomorrow and property values. Who would be excited if you woke up tomorrow and something catastrophic happened in the market and the values were half? How many people would be excited? Everybody in here should be excited. Because it's retirement time. It's time to go to work.
Yes.
It's time to go buy everything you can buy that makes sense, because we know that the market will come back. If everybody didn't raise their hand, then you go back. If everybody didn't raise their hand, if you were excited if things just dropped 50%, then you need to go back and work on your mindset and really understand the gift of shift.
And what if it doesn't drop 50%? What is your mindset then? What is your perspective?
Talk on that.
I mean, because that's the reality, right? Like, we're all experiencing the shift, and yet the shift isn't just about pricing. You know, there are different things that are happening today because we don't know what the shift means or what it looks like, because all of the, like, parameters of the shift were not necessarily in alignment. And so what we're planning to do or thinking we're going to do using our experience and all of that doesn't 100% line up. And so sometimes, even if the prices don't drop that significantly, I think we still have to be in that mindset of, well, then what is the opportunity? What does that mean for us? And not stick with expectations of what the result of this next change that we're experiencing is going to be. And I think it's not just about waiting for it to drop that 50% or hoping that it drops 50%. And fortunately, it's great to hear everybody in here excited about it, because what it sounds to me, what I'm hearing from you, is that you truly positioned yourself to take advantage of this next market. I wasn't in a position to take advantage of this next market, right? But taking advantage of how I'm doing business worked for me, but not being able to position myself. So I think it's that perspective of the mindset of, when you're looking at your goals that you've created, have you built in that you might have to work 2 times more, 3 times more, and your income is dropping, so that you can maybe consider double downing on your goals so that you're doing twice as much and creating that standard for yourself to ensure that you get to leverage both sides of the shift in itself.
Yes.
Excuse me, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
What are you guys looking at to think there's such a cataclysmic change on the horizon here? Because we just had Terry in our commercial meeting this morning, and I got Hadow's report. If you guys are familiar with him, he's an economist, and he's projecting exceptional job growth, new emerging markets all over town, 4th Ward, Buckhead, Midtown, West Midtown. We have a booming technology sector. People are flocking to the urban core, and the Urban Land Institute just forecast that strong commercial real estate through 2020.
So we're gonna address that, and we have like 3 slides from here. We're gonna address that. Unless you want to talk.
Yeah.
Commercial lags behind residential, right?
Yeah, definitely. Commercial lags behind residential, and I think part of that shift and why we're not defining what that shift is. Like when we're saying shift, it's not the same shift that we experienced previously. Shift is simply exactly what that definition is. There's a change occurring in the market, and yet part of where the journey that we're going to be going on today is understanding when it is showing up and when it's not.
Yes.
Because right now, same as our businesses are completely different, our businesses are also completely different because we also have an understanding of what each other's average price point is, who are the type of clients that we're working with. We understand what part of town we all work in, and that is part of it, is your ability to really understand the micro shifts that are occurring in this market, whether it's comparing Midtown, downtown to Duluth, as opposed to 300 and below, 300 and 500, 500 to a million plus. Like, those are all of the components that I think are part of the skills that we need to build in 2019, is to ensure that we understand and we know where we're playing in. We have to know exactly who our clients are and the impact of what is happening. Because just because jobs are great, but affordability is starting to decline. That still causes a shift in what's happening in our market.
And then
if jobs are great and affordability is equally the same and great, then everybody's happy.
Right.
But that's not what we're experiencing, is it? And that's what you're looking for.
And then even the people who can afford, right? The people who can't afford, who are they choosing to do business with? Are they choosing to go to a discount or a brokerage who will give back 50% of their commission to help offset their closing costs, or are they going with a traditional agent? So I think we have multiple shifts happening, multiple changes, micro shifts. The economy can be doing well, and yet there's agents in this room right now who are still struggling to put deals together.
Which goes back to gradually then suddenly.
Yes, yes. So we're not talking about, and because I used the example of property value shifting 50%, that was probably an extreme example that I used to describe shifting. I probably shouldn't have. We're not talking about the economy going to shit overnight. We're talking about the economy doing just what it is right now, and yet agents are feeling the tension of business is not typical. It's not what we're used to. Something is changing in the environment.
That's a good explanation, because I mean, since you mentioned on the affordability of housing, if you can't afford to buy a home, then you're going to rent an apartment, which is beneficial for multifamily.
Conceptually.
Which is beneficial for multifamily developers, and that's more of a commercial product. And
which goes back
those are great questions, because I'm pretty sure
right
other
now.
people had that same like, what am I talking about? So thank you for bringing that up.
Well, I think the truism is that real estate is cyclical. It just can't, prices can't go up forever.
Right.
I mean, there's just what is it, every 7 years, a correction? It doesn't
Atlanta's
have to be a
king,
big,
but yeah.
it doesn't have to be huge. And hopefully it's not gonna be anything like the last shift. But it will be different, yeah.
But if it is,
longer
it's okay.
days, longer days on market.
And that's exactly speaking to mindset. Even if it is exactly like the last shift, as long as you're prepared and your mindset is right and you have the skill is critical, which we're gonna transition into now. So one of the biggest skills that you will need in this shifting market that you did not need over the last 7 years is creating certainty where there is no certainty and you're uncertain.
Oh, that's a good one.
Did that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
So You creating certainty for your client when you engage them, because remember, you're doing all this extra mindset work to position yourself to be ready to engage clients, to master the market, to go out. But your client has not done all that work 9 times out of 10. Your client is being reactive to a situation that they're in. And your ability to walk into a listing appointment, a buyer consult, and create certainty around that client when you don't know what's going to happen 5 years down the road. But you have to create a certain amount of certainty with your client so they feel comfortable and confident to move forward buying or selling. This is a skill that you have not had to develop over the past 7 to 8 years. Agents are all over Facebook, sold it in 2 days.
Off market, above list price.
No closing costs.
It's so easy.
It's the most talentless, skillless market we've been in since 2003. You have not needed skill to sell a house or put a buyer contract together. Maybe a little bit more now than you did last year, but not drastically. So your ability to go in and create certainty with a client, what does that look like? That looks like you being extremely knowledgeable about the area that they're selling in, the price point that they're selling in. That means that you may have to go back and look at the absorption rate. That means that you may have to go, and all you can do is do your research, be authentic, let them know what this could happen, this could happen. Like, be 1000% honest about where the market is. You don't know where it is going. You can see trends. Give them options and let them choose, but let them know I'm here to support you every step of the way, and this is what could happen, and this is what I have in place in case this happens. That's sort of what creating certainty looks like, but being true to yourself and not overpromising, because you don't know what will happen. That is going to be like a top skill that I think we need to develop in this shifting market that we're in. Identifying missed opportunities. Look over your business, look over the last 3 years and see where you missed opportunities. If you've had a lot of customer service complaints when the average days on market has only been like 7 in some areas, understand that your customer service complaints are going to triple when days on market is longer, because you're not used to engaging a client for that long.
So why do you think we said look back into your business in the last 3 years as opposed to this year?
See your trends.
Anything else?
To see where your gaps are.
Because remember, in a strong market, it hides all your weaknesses.
Yes.
And you're so busy doing so well and doing so much business that you completely disregarded those opportunities that you've missed.
Or even just the seasonality of how you work. Are there, over a period of years, do you see where on this month and this month each year your production is down, so then you look back 90 days and say, what was I doing then that produced nothing in those gap months?
And thank you for sharing that. I've been tracking my numbers for the last 4 years, and because of that, I've been able to see a decline in my income month over month for the last 4 years. I don't have a problem saying that out loud. Month over month. And I've made less every year for the last 4 years. And when you make over a certain amount, you can be under, and you're not tracking your numbers, as long as it's enough to get by and live the life that you live, sometimes you don't catch it. Because all you know is I had a good life this year. Bought a house, bought a car, traveled. And as long as I can continue to do that, then I'm good. So what, I made $40,000 less than I made last year. True statement. Right? But let the income drop beneath the point where I don't get to go out of town one weekend. It's a problem. It's a problem immediately. The beautiful part is that I saw the shift 2 years ago. The first time I saw the decrease. And then the second time I saw that, was wait a minute now, I don't know, I'm working. And now I'm looking and I'm on track to do less than I did last year. And I'm also preparing myself. I'm recognizing my missed opportunities over the last 3-4 years. I've only had 2 listings expire in 4 years.
Good for you.
No, but I failed to develop the skill of preventing my listings from expiring. I'm moving into a market where expired listings are going to increase. What was it? Was it 50% of listings failed? The last stats. What did I get?
30.
30.
33, yeah.
30. I don't know. 33.
33%.
So if the market says every 3 times I go up to bat, 1 time I'm going to strike out. As the market shifts, if that turns to 2, now I have to go on 3 times as many listing appointments to take the same number of listings, and then pray they don't expire. As property values in certain areas, not all areas, could shift down. So it's great, right? Those are the Facebook, oh, it sold in 2 days. But I missed the opportunity to build a skill set.
Because how many of you have had to ask the seller for a price reduction this year? And how hard was it to get the price reduction? And did you get the price reduction you were pursuing the seller for?
No.
How many people scared to ask for the right price reduction? Right? We just had this conversation yet. Do you mind? Sure. We just had this conversation. Would you list the, you sure? Too late now. How much did you list the house for?
$535.
$535. Good. How much should it have been listed for?
$505.
$505. But you listed it for
$535.
now, 6 months later, what's your gut? What will it sell for? $460. And what's the price reduction you going in to ask for? Prior to yesterday? $45. She's still asking for a price reduction, $20,000 over what her gut says it will sell for. This is a $15,000 commission that should have happened when? 6 months ago. Well, we're in $12,000 6 months ago. Could have been 15. We don't know if it would have sold at $505, right? This is a classic example, and yeah, I do the same. I got one right now. Need price reduction.
I got 2.
Okay, so you're not alone. You're not alone. But again, it's great that I haven't had anything expire. It's great that I haven't had to do that many price reductions. But now I lack the skill to do effective price reductions and to get them before get them when I take the listing and get them at 10%. When the last time you took a 10% price reduction? Not in the last 10 years.
And how many people have taken it recently though, and it's still not sell?
Right. And then it expired. How many people have had a listing expire and you're like, maybe I'm not the right agent to sell it. Maybe you do need another agent. I don't know what else to do. I mean, nobody with me.
It hasn't expired yet, but I'm not.
I had one. How about the skill of teeing up somebody in the office who you know will have a better opportunity to sell it so that you still make a referral on the listing, putting them in front of the seller creatively. They may or may not like you depending on your customer service plan over the past 6 months. It took that long and it's going to expire. These are skills that you have not developed because you have not had to do it. Don't wait until 6 months from now to learn how to take a 10% price reduction when you take the listing. How fierce do you think your scripts have to be to take a 10% price reduction at the listing appointment? 10%. I'm putting your house on the market with 5, but I promise we're gonna sell it for $450 in 2 weeks or 30 days if we don't have an offer. Who's bold enough to do that? You can do it that way, or you can $10,000 them for 6 months. By the time you get to that 4th month, I don't want to take your call no more.
Amesha, I think part of the shift discussion we're having is also about what you're talking about right now. I think, big discussion about shift has to do with the fact that people have gotten real used as sellers to overpricing their product, just basically being a tire kicker on the seller side, whether it's commercial or residential,
right.
Thinking I can just put it out there at any price and it's going to sell. And now they're having to shift how they're looking at selling their property. We have to come in and educate them that no, you can't just put it out there at any price. And I think that's a whole different shift that we're looking at right now.
How many times have your sellers had to tell you they needed a price reduction? because you weren't used to servicing them, and oh my God, it's been 30 days and you thought it only been 2 weeks. Well, tell me that hasn't happened. There's so many agents that are like, yeah, my seller called me and was like, I think we might need to reduce the price. That means your clients are staying ahead of the market even better than you are.
Because guess who telling them they need a price reduction? Zillow.
Yeah.
Zillow emailing them. I'm so sick of Zillow. Zillow email my client every morning. Every time something shifts in the
Zillow
market.
talks to your client more than you do.
Zillow
Amesha.
emails my seller every morning. She's like, oh, my property went up $30 a day. Literally, it's like real time stock market. We had increased traffic today. Like, the analytics that Zillow is sending your client is killing your communication.
There's a flip side. I had a seller who had subscribed on 2 other websites with other agents, hired me, and she constantly got automatic emails from them about her pricing. So she was actually hearing from other agents, not just Zillow, about pricing on her property.
Are you finding that Zillow is starting to become more accurate with the market as these agents are?
I am.
Yes.
I find Zillow to be highly accurate in many of my listings.
I don't know that I feel like it's about accuracy.
I'm selling at what they say is going to sell.
So-
I'm being honest. But what I've started doing, because I've started to price behind the market. I only will price ahead of the market if my seller absolutely has to bring money to the table in order. Then I'm like, let's try it because you don't have anything to lose. But right now I'm pricing behind the market. If I'm in a subdivision and 3 properties are priced at $250, I'm coming on the market at $240, $250, $243. And then I'm gonna win the beauty contest and bid it up to $245. I have a listing right now priced at $245. Somebody's in there overpriced at $260. Somebody's in there priced at $255. I went on the market at $245. Guess what? I sold in 7 days. Those other 2 properties been on the market for 90 days. 90 days. I got a price behind the market because I don't have a customer service plan yet. I can't be in a relationship with you this long. I'm not ready to service you this long. So I said, we're going to put it on the market at $245. The script I gave her is, we're going to have to pay some closing costs. Buyers are going to block. They may bid it up, but they're going to ask for closing costs. I need you to trust. I will get you the same, if not more, closing costs on the buy side where we're going. It's a wash. I don't want you caught up on this $6,000 they're asking for. I'll get it back for you on this side. Buyer offer came in $245, $6,000. She said, well, we got 8 over. I said, right, you come in 2, right? Sign it. Let's go. She said, I can't believe my neighbor's been on the house 90 days. They've been on the market 90 days. 90 days. That's 2 transactions. That's a skill set. You got to convince your client to price properly and understand. They're not the belle of the ball no more. Everybody not buying for their product no more. Buyers are real hesitant about what they're willing to overpay for, especially now that the rates are higher. They're already paying a premium before you put your premium on there. Okay, so scripting matters. Not enough listings. How many people say they didn't have enough listings last year? This year. How many people, keep your hand raised, how many people of your hand raised had a listing expire this year? So how are you going to say you don't have enough listings, but the listings you have, you're not selling? That's a blind spot. Do you see that? Did you guys miss that?
Yes.
You didn't catch it?
No.
You got listings, but let's say you had 10 listings this year. Let's say 3 of them expired, and you weren't able to relist. But you said, I didn't have enough listings. You didn't have enough sellable listings. Because you could have went and got 3 more listings, or you could have just sold the listings that you have. And it's not an either or, as my friend Clark say, it's an and. But don't make the mistake of going to get more listings if you haven't mastered how to sell the ones you had. Or else you will just go get 10 more and 3 of those won't sell. Now you got a missed opportunity at 6 listings. If you look at the average price point of the 6 listings, it's probably $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 that you might have missed because you don't know how to get them sold. I don't know if it was pricing, was it positioning, was it negotiation? Be careful to of when you identify your missed opportunities. Just because you're listing, just because you don't have as many listings that was on your goal, doesn't mean you didn't have enough. It could be that you really suck at pricing, or you're not brave enough to tell the seller their house smells like cat, and you need to change the carpet and paint, or you need to price it properly. Develop that skill now, before 6 months, 9 months into the year. Buyer consultations and no buyer brokerage. Who here has consulted a buyer, did a sign call, showed them a house, and then they bought with somebody else this year? Thank you for being honest. Even the best agents. Sometimes we like, oh, so-and-so referred them. That's all good. I called a client, true story. Called a client. I didn't call her. Facebook reminded me, don't you love technology? My client bought a house in Old Fourth Ward 5 years ago, got stuck on her balcony. I happened to be going over there. I happen to have some rope and tablecloth in the trunk. I show up, I tie it, I swing it up. I should show you guys a picture. She scaled the balcony. The memory came up. I sent it to her. I said, remember this? She said, yes. By the way, I'm back in Maryland with my boo. Wait, what? Yeah. So you sold your house? Oh yeah, I just use an online brokerage. I save so much money. What? Ooh. I ain't gonna tell you the price point, make you sick this morning. What I'm saying is missed opportunity. Missed opportunity. We won't go into how to, y'all know what to do. Missed opportunity. Okay? Rocky transactions.
How many have had more than 2 terminations this year? 3? 4?
Can't remember how many.
Right there with you.
I'm going to use an example. Dominique, do you mind if we share? You do mind?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So, let me share with you the level of skill that may be needed to put a transaction together. Rocky transactions, okay? So Dominique has a buyer, $400,000 pre-approval, VA loan, made an offer on a property. Property listed at $475,000. Her clients made an offer for $450,000. Her client's pre-approval was for $400,000, but they're putting $50,000 with cash to bridge the gap. Seller counters back at $462,000, something like that, with no closing costs. Buyers say, well, we're not paying $462,000, we're done. Transaction died. Different perspective on how to look at that transaction, those negotiations. As listing agents, when we get a pre-approval for $400,000, or if we look at the VA exhibit, we see they're putting 100% down. People don't want to admit this. There's some mindset around VA buyers. I'm going to just say it. Y'all don't have to say I'm going to say it. Okay? So, I say, well, does the agent know that the buyers are putting an extra $50,000 down cash to bridge the gap? She goes, well, I don't think so. I said, well, if they're putting down, really what were the difference between where we are is how much? $450,000 and $460,000 with $8,000 in closing costs. What's the difference? $2,000. If the buyer made an offer for $450,000 with $8,000 in closing costs, and the seller counter at $460,000 with no closing costs, what's the $18,000. Do you think that we can bridge the gap on $18,000 with a buyer that's putting $50,000 down cash?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. How do you think we could do that?
Go back and raise the approval.
Well, we can't. We can't raise the approval. They're approved for 4.
Kick out the closing costs.
Kick out the closing costs, but they don't have the additional funds. All they have is 50. That's why they kept it.
Seller finance.
Possibly. Okay, what else?
Different type of loan, maybe.
Talk to the lender.
Well, different type of loan.
So you get a second.
Second, okay, what else?
What you don't want to do is sometimes the agent can gift their commission.
No,
part.
we're never doing that.
I said you don't want to do
I got bills.
that.
Can't do that. What else are we doing? Well, come on, you guys, pray. This is the market. We're $18,000 apart with $12,000 commission on the line. How you gonna put this together? It's dead. Well, it was dead. I don't know where it is today, but it was dead yesterday. How are you putting this together? $12,000 on the line.
Go back to the seller.
I'll go back to the seller's agent and say, what else is important to your client and how can we bring these two fabulous parties together? We are $12,000 apart. $18,000 apart. Can we help by changing our closing date? Is there any of these terms that we can work with, and how do we bridge this gap, and see what they say? And I would also share how solid these people are, because if they're looking at that 100% down, they're going, oh my God, we're probably not going to make it to closing. So I think you've got to beef up how solid these people are. They're coming out, they picked your house, and they're coming out of pocket $50,000 to make sure this happens. These guys are solid. We are all going to get to the closing. Now, how do we get there making everybody happy? Talk to me.
That's the first step. First step that I recommended. You go back to the buyer's agent. I'm going to get you 1 minute. Go back to the buyer's agent. Listen, I know they're doing VA. I know it looks like they don't have, 100% financing. But they're coming out of their savings. They're savings $50,000 to buy this house. They love this house. I just want you to know that they're not coming to the I don't know that the agent or the seller had some misconception about the fact that they did 100% financing. I don't know that. But I want to eliminate that just in case they did. Okay? So, can you please do me a favor? If I'm able to, I'm going to go back to the lender and I'm going to see what the lender can do. If there's anything that can be done, can you come back with your seller's best? Okay? Put her on hold. I go to the lender. I say, Mr. Lender or Mrs. Lender, we're $18,000 apart. These people are putting $50,000 down. I'm assuming that they maybe could go more if their debt to income ratio was in alignment. They're putting $50,000 down. Is there something that they could pay off on their credit with a huge monthly payment that would allow their pre-approval to be higher? Could they use a portion of the $50,000 to finance a higher pre-approval amount versus putting the cash down? Sometimes you got to think for your lender too, okay? They're not in here, so we can say that. Because they could possibly qualify for more, and their qualification, the loan qualification could be more valuable to them than the cash itself. The lender, I said, now, can you give any type of lender credit? Can we afford a little bump in the rate? Come back with your best. See how you could bridge this $19,000. Yeah. 9 times out of 10 with $50,000, a lender wizard gonna make happen. Okay? They're gonna get real close if they can't get the 19. Then I'm gonna go to the client and I'm gonna say, listen, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like this house? Because if it's anything less than a 7, we need to move on anyway. If it's over an 8, I have an idea, and I don't know that it'll work, but just work with me. If the lender can get within $100 of this payment or within $5,000 of what you originally wanted to bring, would you move forward? If they say they want like the house over a 7, 9 times out of 10, they will say yes. Okay? The lender comes back with a number. I take the number back to the client. This is what she's able to do. Would you like to move forward with this house based on this new number? First, we didn't think it was a possibility. This is how we worked it. They say yes, ideally. Then you go back. Remember, we had her working. She come back, well, he could do 5,000 more. Boom. 9 times out of 10, that's going to be just what you need to take this over the edge. But they already agreed to this. Now you look like a rock star. Oh, by the way, you come to the table with $5,000 less. It's go time. Now that took a lot of finessing, a lot of moving parts. But that's the difference between a $12,000 commission and you going back out 6, 7 more times to show more homes. Do you understand what I'm saying? Get outside of the box. Rocky transactions and poor negotiations, you don't know how much money you're leaving on the table. Because you never realize it. You guys following me? Start getting outside the box. Start holding your lenders accountable to get very creative with these deals that are not coming together. Don't be so quick to move to the next house. Develop the skill of negotiation, problem solving, agent engagement. Notice I didn't come talking about comps. Notice I didn't say you overpriced the listing. We know it's overpriced. That's why you came down $15,000 when you countered. You knew it was overpriced when you took it. I don't want to tell you that. Help me help us get to this commission. What's your best? I'm going to go back and see what we can do. She going to come back with something. Ideally. Right? And if nobody come back, if the lender say no, they say no, then you know you didn't have a transaction. But now, you can feel comfortable and confident now. You crystal clear. Listen, what we're not doing is looking at properties priced at $475 no more. We need to bring it down a little bit. You guys tracking?
Yep.
You want to say something?
In terms of agent engagement, what you were talking about on the last set of stories we were listening to, you said that you told your seller about, don't worry about the closing costs here. I'll get them for you on the other side. Using your knowledge and your scripts, you can help coach the other agent about how to talk to their client, give them suggestions of things they may not know, and that helps you while they're taking your words back to their client.
Let me tell you something. Yes, I've used that, but in this case I didn't. You know why? Because I knew my buyers were buying in a buyer's market. My buyer is buying and coming over 300. There's so much inventory and coming over 300. They be happy to see me coming. I knew that I was going to be able to get them over $6,000 in closing costs. I know the market there. They got inventory for days and giving houses away. The house my client went binding on was $327. It was listed at $375. It's like, know the market your client is buying in, and that was a wrap. So I stepped out and said I could do more than 6. I felt comfortable saying that. Would I have said that if she was buying in Old Fourth Ward? No.
And that's understandable. My point was simply take your knowledge, pass it on to the other agent to help them coach their client to do what you want them to do.
Yes, sometimes you got to give the other agent a script.
And I think it's, to your point, part of like missed opportunities sometimes is how you're building rapport with the other agents and the relationships that you're having. Because right now, keep in mind, like inventory is selling and not hitting the market. And I don't know about you guys, but I will say at least 25% of the agents I've co-opted with this year have been a nightmare for me. Mm-hmm. How many of you have dealt with other agents who just aren't nice? Like they're snippety, they're sending you unsubscribe emails, they're like just blatantly lying in some places. I've got one right now that keeps lying and keeps trying to poach my client, and we're just trying to get to closing. And you look back and you take that step back, and part of it is a missed opportunity, because best believe there are agents who have presented offers on my listings that I already know ahead of time will not be buying my listings. And I think that's part of it, is that conversation of how are we bringing value to our co-op agents, not just being nice, because I think that's part of that shift is how are we bringing value to other agents? Is it that we're even helping them when they're looking for help? Because, prime example, Amesha and Dominique are having these conversations. How many of you are building alignment with other agents to, one, get properties for your clients that aren't going to hit the MLS, or help you get through these rocky transactions? Or, I was in a mastermind with Cynthia Pierce, and she was talking about another agent that had a listing that her friend didn't get, and she took the time out to go help that agent actually get a price reduction from her client. Like, can you imagine what your business could do if you had all the agents on board for you to actually sell your listings and be successful? That is a huge missed opportunity that many people didn't have to deal with, because if they were the listing agents, strong listing agents, they didn't care because they knew they could sell it to 10 different buyers. But if that micro shift happens to their price point in their area, what happens then to your business?
Becky, another perspective of agent relationships that was a huge aha for me is that 40% of my business is agent referrals. When the market shifts a little bit more drastic than what it is, a lot of agents are going to get out of the business. But if they've been in the business 2, 3, 4 years and they get out of the business, they still have a database. They still have clients that need to be serviced. They still want to make the money. They're going to refer them. Who do you think they're going to refer them to, John?
You know, one of the things in missed opportunities, you talk about relationships with agents, but your database is probably your most important area of missed opportunity. The deeper you dig with your database, I mean, you looking for more listings, why not go to your database? If you're looking to, try and bridge the gap during a shift, it's your database. You're basically using them to help you get referrals, to help you get more business.
Yeah.
And as you dig deeper with them, it's like digging deeper with other agents and developing those relationships. As agents, we're relational. We're not transactional. You know, our objective is to develop a pipeline of business. And if we dig deeper with our own database, we're going to get there. And that's going to help us bridge those gaps.
I didn't always feel that way. I felt that way about the database, but not about other agents. Clax will tell you, he's lazy. Why I gotta retype? Why you don't send me an email? I gotta type the offer for your client. And it was Sean Ross that said,
smarter agent does the work.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even lie. I still was pushing back on it. I embraced it. I was pushing back, but I embraced it. I did it. I didn't embrace it. I just did it.
It's your new best friend.
Yes. And so I can't tell you how it's paid dividends, like over and over and over. The builder that I work with, he was on the other side of a transaction. I didn't know. I didn't know he was a builder. I thought he was an agent. And I did all the work because he wasn't doing any of it. So I made the transaction easy by doing all the work, ordering everything. And then he called me afterwards. And we've been in this tumultuous relationship ever since. It's been profitable, but it was rocky, even once we got in relationship. But I got the opportunity because of how I showed up in the transaction. I don't show up in the transactions like that all the time. I try to. Sometimes it gets the best of me, the transaction. But I try really hard to show up and say, you know what? I noticed that you missed like 5 or 6 things on the offer you sent. Is it, do you need help? Do you need me to rewrite it for you? I just don't want you to get in trouble with compliance at your brokerage. Let me show you how to, fill this in, because sometimes I may bring something to an agent's attention and it's to my client. It don't even benefit my client. But it's the right thing to do in a transaction. And you never know how those small pouring into people come back to you good.
But Amesha, what happens too is that if you're the only agent in the transaction, you're doing both sides, because it's important for you to make sure that you do it for your client. What happens is the other agent's client sees what's going on.
They become an orphan.
And how many times do they contact you because of the work that you've done on both sides of the transaction?
It happens.
Yeah.
So what are your opportunities for 2019?
Can I ask a question
Yeah.
about the last segment you just covered? So in hearing everything that you're talking about and how we could be stronger in negotiations, pricings, different things like that, are there any resources that you could, or classes that you could recommend that we take to help us? Okay, you said yes?
That'll be part of the next slide.
Yeah, that's the next
great,
slide.
Okay.
Go to the next slide. You want to go?
Mastermind any of it?
No. So, this is perfect transition.
Okay.
In the past, you put together a growth plan and you just went to family reunion, or you went to mega camp, or you signed up with a coach, or you just was doing stuff with no focus. In a shift, your growth plan needs to be centered around your missed opportunities and your weaknesses. You should not be engaging in any training, coaching, mastermind if it's not focused on your missed opportunities. You have to be laser beam focused. So if you find that after 2 counter offers your contract stall out and you have to go show other houses, you might need a negotiation class. You might need coaching around negotiation. You may want to seek out training classes for negotiation. Until you master that, why are you in mastering buyers or a listing training. It doesn't make sense. Your growth plan needs to be so focused on your missed opportunities that they're no longer missed opportunities. Does that make sense?
Because your missed opportunities become your biggest opportunities if you plan it right and you plan accordingly. I think one of the big things is that, yeah, we've always just done the same things over and over, never really being as proactive. Because how many of your growth plans always said, going to family reunion, going to Mega Agent, taking Bold, for some, take Ignite, I'm just gonna take the ethics class, just what is required. Many times that's exactly what got you through the market, but what got you through isn't going to get you to thrive in this next market. So I think taking that time out to go back through all the business that you've done, all the business that you didn't do, and really what was part of your plan previously. You know, that was one of the things that we talked about, going back through and saying, you know what, 2 years ago, I put this on my plate. At some point in time, 3 years ago, I was like, you know what, loans are gonna reset, modifications are gonna be a challenge, and we're gonna see short sale service again. 3 years ago, I intended to really be strategic in setting up that business so that once the shift happened, I could flip a switch and be ready to go, and I didn't do it. So it's like going back through, what were your plans? What were you thinking of doing that you didn't do that attributed to you missing more opportunities or not growing your business in a different capacity, right? Like for me, I go back and I look and I'm like, we've been doing the same business over and over, same type of business, same clients, but we never added a secondary component to build and grow our business. And so looking at that, I'm like, well, what's my next opportunity? It's going back through of what were my original intentions? Because that was when you had all this money and you were doing really great and you had these big ideas and a huge vision for what you were doing, and then you didn't quite execute it. Go back and go through, like, what were you thinking at that point in time that you were thinking? Because it was, 3 years ago when Gary Keller said the shift is coming.
Yeah.
Though it took longer, obviously, and
Right.
it's still not quite here, but something caused you to put something on paper then for what your plan is. That is where I would start and line it up with your missed opportunities for where your intentions were in 2016, 2017, 2018. Figure out where they line up at, and I think that could give you some clarity of where your initial starting map is.
And I believe that many of us are getting the same results and doing the same units because we haven't learned anything new.
Yeah.
You've been taking the same education for the last 3 years and you've been getting the same result.
It's not a bad result. It's just the same result.
It's just the same result, right? The shift is causing you to stop and see what is moving that I'm not moving with. If prices are moving, have you taken a class on pricing? Have you sat in a mastermind just focused on pricing? Sometimes we think masterminds have to be 6 weeks commitment. No, it could be a 1 hour, hey, bring one property or 2 properties, one in town, one out, and we're gonna sit and we're gonna hammer this thing down. We're gonna look at absorption rate. We're gonna look at days on market. We're gonna look at the script around it. We're gonna look at who sold in 2 weeks and who sold in 90 days in the same subdivision. What was different? What was the positioning? And hearing how other agents would price it. And there's aha. Sometimes Becky and I sit down and we just have conversations, and she'll be like, no.
Sometimes we're starting to complain first.
Yeah, and she'll like, we just have a passionate conversation about this old fourth ward woman. And we ended up at the same place, but she challenged me in a way where I was like, okay, I see it. I see it. And then I was like, oh, I see it. But I was so holding on to my idea that it took somebody challenging me at a very high level, because she like a dog on the bone.
Really?
You like, she don't let up until I get it. If she's convicted about what she believes. But how many of you don't have that person? How many of you don't have somebody going, no, that's the wrong price? You got what led you to believe that you don't have anybody doing that, so you just stay with your same ideas, getting the same result. Goes back to mindset and who you surrounding yourself with, and people being brave enough to have uncomfortable conversations with you.
Can we get one of those planned pricing? I'd
You
love
can-
to sit in on a mastermind with people that know it.
Well,
have been
I mean,
doing
you just create it.
Well, do I do?
Yeah.
Own your own success.
Nobody wants to hear me. I want to hear somebody.
That's not true.
Creating.
We all have, see, and I think that's it. Believe that you have something to contribute because it's all perspective. And sometimes, like in this case, usually it's so much easier to be the quarterback, right? Like if you're not the one that's living it, it's so much easier to put your perspective in. So I think those masterminds are critical of just getting people that you really didn't even know that you would be in relationship with. Like Misha and I always joke about how our friendship kind of came around and whatnot, right?
Short story. She was a mean girl.
We're not.
Short story.
Never.
We were both.
Wait, we're not telling the story. You're a
No, we're
tangent.
not telling the story.
This is a tangent.
No.
So anyway, I think
tangent.
it's really important.
I think they should know because this is how you get a mastermind going. So we in the office and we don't talk. We're kind. Hi. And then like I would say like a year goes by and it's crazy because I recognize her energy. I think she recognized mine, but we never. So one day we're here late, like 10 o'clock working. And she's like, she in there working, I'm in here working. And it was like, that's, the fact that we were in here working late, like 10 o'clock at night, that was it was like we met in that space. Do you guys follow me?
Yeah.
I don't know her skill set, but I know she was a top agent. She didn't know my skill set, but we in this space working our commitment to whatever business, we're in this space. So we met there, and we start talking. And we start, having some business conversations, and it just grew from there. And now we've created this space where I feel like Becky has a whole side of my brain that's underdeveloped. She will look at something, I'll look at something, she sees something completely different.
And vice versa.
And vice versa. And not until I sit in a conversation with her will it even trigger me to look at. I'm not wired to see things the way Becky sees things. Not until we engage in a conversation, I start to say, oh, okay. And then even then, I still need to break it down a little bit more. You know when you're right on the cusp of a breakthrough of understanding something, but you really don't understand it, but you see it, but you don't quite get it? Being in a space with somebody that thinks different than you and not afraid to challenge you help you develop that part of your brain, your personality, your skill set, your talent. So, I said that to say, you get in a mastermind with 3 people, you think you don't have anything to contribute. Somebody will say something brilliant, and then you'll see like a piece of tangent brilliance right off of that and go, well, what about this? And all of a sudden, light bulb goes off, and you're like, wow, we didn't even see that. But because you were engaged in a conversation, it came up. Do you understand?
I do.
Yeah, you always have something to contribute if you sit in the space long enough and you guys focus on the result. And the result is getting a deeper understanding of how to interpret the market, how to develop pricing strategies, and how to develop scripts. There's no one script.
And I think part of it is making sure you're not necessarily in business with somebody who's doing the same business. It's that diversity that really helps you think outside the box so that you can be open to other perspectives. Because we're a relationship that from the get-go is always a challenge. We never 100% see eye to eye right off the bat on the surface, ever. In general, on all things, I feel like.
Yeah.
But it's getting through that conversation and respecting and hearing the other person, and really teaching yourself to listen to in the process, because we've literally had to be like, shut up, let me finish.
Right.
But it's getting through that process where it's like, oh, I get it, like next step. And I think that that's part of what helps with the shift. And that was actually how I really thrived in the market, was because I took a trading class and I was fortunate enough to be on a team with like Deb and Michael Martino, the McCartys, Terry Fry, just different agents that I wasn't producing remotely close to the level that they were at that point in time. But the different perspectives of like coming in and figuring out what you can bring to somebody else and what they can bring to you, and literally be proactive enough to put it together and make it happen, is where you grow the most. I think instead of just waiting for the office to put something together, or like if you hear somebody say something in team meeting that you're like, I would have never thought of that, that's an opportunity to say, hey, Jessica, can we grab coffee? Like, let's just chat. I want to hear more about like where you were thinking when you came up with that.
Okay, wait, let me say something.
Sorry, I'm going on a tangent.
About taking people to coffee.
Don't take, well,
Okay.
I did.
Coffee is fine. Please be prepared to share something of value. It is extremely draining when people come to you and say, oh, I like taking lunch, I like taking coffee, I like taking, that's great. They come with the intention, they're expecting a brain dump. That's not how creativity flows. You provide more value, you have something to give. Don't show up to the coffee with an energy of, I'm coming to learn everything that you know. Because then the person leaves the experience depleted. They leave feeling
used.
That's a word. That's a word. But they leave feeling.
It's drained.
Let's suck it down.
Come on with all the language. Yes. Show up to the meeting with something of value. You have something of value. You're doing something at a high level, even if it's not real estate related. Even if you get up, if you masterful getting up at 4:30, that's a discipline. Come to the meeting ready to share something, and you will get more out of it. And the person be willing to share more in the future.
And to that point, if you're newer or you feel like you don't have something yet to share, there's always the opportunity to ask the question of the person who you are sitting with. Like if I'm with Amesha and I feel like I have nothing to share, I say to Amesha, what's your biggest challenge right now? And then let Amesha talk. And then maybe there's a dialogue to be had there. Maybe you've got an idea from your past experience that could help Amesha. And then, the next question is, well, what have you tried so far? And the third question is, what are you gonna do next? And
the busier the person is that you want to sit with, the more value you need to bring. Because
but talking through yours is helping, is learning, is masterminding to help you also.
Yeah. Ideally, a brain share is always preferred than a brain dump. Brain dump leaves the other person just completely depleted.
So for me, my theme for my growth in 2019 goes back to days on market are longer. Conversations with my sellers are just tougher for me. My conversion has gone down 5%. And so my focus really is right now is the language that I'm using to influence others. I think that part of the market shift is the ability to influence and show up a certain way to truly have a value and expertise that others can find tangible. And so one of my big things is truly mastering art of the influence, which is a class that I'm currently taking. And I think that class will literally take me the entire year to just get to like 10% proficiency. And so that's like a huge commitment for me. So that would be my example of where my focus is. So my growth plan and my themes are really going to be about building my ability to influence, which will then trickle down into my plan of like networking more often and engaging my database a lot more, increasing my communication with them. And I think just focusing on that will help
You are
me.
getting way out of your comfort zone, sister.
This is true. But yeah, so I don't know if that helps answer your question. And yours, Amesha?
You know, that's so much to grow. I think I'm gonna get back to basics this in 2019. Becky and I did an open house this weekend, and
It's fun.
it was fun. It was like
For those of you, I'm learning to do open houses because I'm evaluating whether or not that will be one of my opportunities in 2019. So everybody knows Amesha is the queen of open houses. So I did them with Amesha.
And
she had to dust off some skills, but she
yeah,
was ready.
I caught me off guard a little bit, but and Becky is masterful. She just has to close. But other than that, she killed.
You can't close. You just can't
What I found in the open house this weekend, which I had to remind myself of, I would say there was probably conservatively, potentially $5 million worth of business walked in.
Yes.
$5 million worth of business walked in that open house. And period.
What price point were you at?
900,000.
925.
And they were ready, willing, and able buyers and sellers. Would you agree?
And sellers, yes.
And given the right relationships or enough time, or I feel like opportunities could have been created there off market. That otherwise wouldn't exist had I not shown up to the open house. And so the biggest opportunity for me is getting back to what built my business, which was open houses, and maximizing the opportunities that exist there. And that boils down to scheduling them and doing them and being strategic about where they are.
Which, if you guys notice, Amesha said what had built her business, but she stopped doing. And I think one of the things that we've learned in talking with other agents is that so many agents do the exact same thing. They end up finding success, and it really came down to one or maybe two sources of business, and as they got successful, they decide to leap onto a different source of success, and they leave behind where they started with, instead of recognizing that in order to build a bigger business, it's mastering that one, which she had done, because it truly fed and built her business, and then adding a secondary component, but never leave behind the first. I think I had a conversation with an agent in this office about that same thought of like, if this is what always helped you, why would you stop? Why not ensure that that continues? Because your business requires more than one leg to really build that big business that is truly designed to fund your life. And it is about adding those strong pillars to really build it. And most teams, if you look at, if you look at, agents who have built these mega teams, they've really done it building it off their database, adding in the open houses, then adding in expires, and they're mastering the components along the way. And I think part of the shift in understanding exactly when you're looking for your missed opportunities, you've then also identified where are your sources of business and digging deeper in those areas, but also seeing where's my second potential. Or if you don't have a second, like myself, it's defining what it looks like before the year even starts.
That's so true. I did build my business on open houses, and I work by referral now with a database full of people I met at open houses. So I haven't done an open house in a while. I mean, I did one last weekend, but adding people, I haven't added a lot of people I've been working the same 150 clients and 150 people in my sphere for the last 7 years. I've not added too many people to my database. And so,
but is that going to change?
Oh, absolutely. So the big aha I got from the open house this weekend was in an industry where buyers and sellers are getting information rapidly off the internet, right? They get information before you get it. It's very hard to convey value electronically. It was very easy to convey value, to show value belly to belly. Oh, you're looking for a house on a basement with a pool. Next people walk in, had a house on a basement with room for a pool. I said, if you don't mind, can I call you if I find what you're looking for? Yeah, sure, no problem. Give me the information. Next people walk in, got his information. Just like that. Sometimes our value is not, well, the market is this, and I'm an economist. And sometimes I have what you need. You want to give me your information so I can call you? when I get what you need. I have it. You know, it requires you to work with me. Sometimes they may not even want to work with you, but if you have what they need, people will work with you. Sometimes you get in rapport, find out what they need. Sometimes that is the value proposition. Everything else they can find online. But apparently they couldn't find what they were looking for. They wouldn't be walking in our open house. The biggest value you can bring to a buyer is the house that they want. Not pumpkins, not cute little wreaths for Christmas, client appreciation party, not birthday cards. All that stuff is cute, but at the end of the day, they want the house that they want. The sellers want a buyer and the price that they want. I didn't approach them to be their agent. I simply approached them to create an opportunity for somebody else. That's it. So, should we move on? Any questions about this growth plan and being able to provide value?
But I wanted to just keep going. I thought this was profound. You said it's hard to share value electronically because I can get it anyway.
You can share value, but I don't know how impactful it is to people you don't know. You can share value to myths electronically. But where was I going to meet $4 to $5 million buyers in a day? Where else can you do that? That's essentially what happened. And how many sellers walked in? 2, right? 3? So what's that, $8 million roughly, just round up, $8 million worth of business? Where else am I going to engage $8 million worth of business in one setting? And how am I going to convey very quickly that I'm the person you need to work with? You never met me from a hole in the wall. You might assume I'm working for the seller. This might not be the house for you. And you think I'm trying to sell you on something when you walk in, so you may not even want to engage me. How? I have 3 minutes to create value and build rapport? 3 minutes, max. And Joe still wasn't interested. 15 minutes later, this is the husband of the client who just was not foolish. But I promise you, if I find a house that they want, Joe do business. He'll do business with me. So electronically is cool.
But I wanted to extrapolate that to just lead gen in general.
Mm-hmm.
That exclusively electronic lead gen, you still have to. I love the belly-to-belly expression.
Well, and I know an agent selling 75 units a year, and he buys leads. Now, we can have judgment on buying leads, but he closing 75 units a year. His bank account not met. I agree with you. I just want to be careful the people who choose to. I'm considering buying leads in 2019. There's only so much belly-to-belly I'm going to do. I like weekend.
Right, and I'm not talking about exclusively one or the other.
Right.
I'm just saying the
I think we're saying the same thing.
Let me mention something on that buy leads. I buy leads periodically, and I do very well with them. 50% of my business comes from that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things you have to do if you're going to pursue that road, before anybody jumps down that path, make sure you have a plan how you're going to respond and react to these people once you get them in the database, because you have to follow up very quickly, and you can't spam on them. You have to follow up with some very good information.
Value. How quickly do you have to create value for an internet lead?
All the time. You have to do it all the time. One of the things that I did, I haven't done it lately, but I'm getting to start back into it, is once you get them in your database, the worst thing you can do is put them on a damn drip campaign that spams the heck out of them.
Right.
You want to provide them with the reasons why, what's going on in the market, things of value that they won't unsubscribe to your drip plans, because they will. If you put them into your regular database, that's a mistake. Put them into a different database.
And that's what I mean, Stacey, by providing value electronically to people you've never met is not it's challenging. Your value has to be so impactful that it compels them to want to meet with you.
Two big things you can do that help you with that, because they get to know you. It's like you become a celebrity if you do it correctly. Video. You send them videos of topics about what's going on in the market, where there's a 2-minute market presentation on what's happening in a particular neighborhood. What what's going on with mortgage rates. Have a mortgage lender say, this is what we project. Anything that you can do to present some kind of a video event with valuable information, they'll listen to it. They get to see your face, they get to see your personality, how you act. That's how you nurture and cultivate those leads into business. And that does work.
Thank you for sharing that for those of you who are looking to buy leads. You don't want to waste your money.
Where are you buying your leads from?
I use Google AdWords directly, and I drive traffic right to my website, either a buyer site or a seller site.
Does anybody have anything to add as a one thing that you'll be adding to your growth plan for 2019?
Around
Ideas
missed
for others?
opportunities. Yes?
Just a proper database. I mean, it's embarrassing to admit that I don't have a proper database after 13 years. I have had my first and second year in the business about 6 times.
Are you talking about specifically a CRM?
Yeah.
Okay, so identifying a CRM.
And
Okay.
putting them all together. I've got it in my phone and I scroll through and I call past clients like that, but it's not like you were talking about laser focused.
Yeah. Perfect.
So a few things. For my plan, I'm actually putting the dates on the calendar and printing them off for everything that I'm planning to do next year.
Okay.
So there's no, I got caught up showing, this weekend, so on Monday, this is not gonna go out. So that's one thing, actually getting it on the calendar.
Is that a time management? I'm looking for the theme. Is that time management?
I think it's just knowing, okay, Father's Day's coming around. I want to send out 50, things for Father's Day. And the time comes up and I'm so busy with maybe it's contracts or something, it doesn't get done. And I think those activities of, interacting with your database is what gets you more business.
Right.
So I think maybe it is time management, just getting it already.
And scheduling.
Yes, getting it scheduled for the year. Like all the things I say I'm gonna implement with my growth plan, the things I'm gonna do, getting it on the calendar and being intentional and looking at it and getting it done before that deadline.
So the growth opportunity for you and the missed opportunities that you had was time management and scheduling and planning, pre-planning.
Or execution.
Execution on things that I know would add more business, give me more business.
Okay.
I would say I did about 50% of it this year. And then the second thing is what Becky talked about is I feel that, there's lots of room for growth. So identifying those areas within myself and then being more intentional about just focusing on improving those areas. I feel like I was kind of all over the place doing everything that came up. So I think I got a little bit more focus from that.
Perfect. Anybody else, class?
Spending more time with the places, the database. I need to spend more time with my database. Those people, we've got 25 years of people out there. Will tell you something I'm ashamed to admit, that last night I had dinner with some clients I sold the house to 12 years ago. And they called me and said, we want to take you to dinner. And we sat down and they said, well, last time we saw each other was 12 years ago. Oops. But they said, you're the only person we'd want to work with. But that brought to mind
Missed opportunity.
But it was the good part about that also is I think the depth you go to with your clients.
Yeah.
That dinner was so wonderful. It was like it's like we saw each other yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think the more in depth you go to with your clients, it works.
Have you listed their place?
I'm sorry?
Have you listed it yet? Did you list their place? They want to sell
Yeah,
it?
we'll be listing.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's like another thing
Along those lines is that, even though Clax hadn't seen them, we still are top of mind because we still have connection with them. We still communicate with them on a regular basis.
Electronically?
Well, no, we mail, direct mail.
Okay.
So the thing is that, you have to take into account the fact that you have to be able to connect with your database. If you've got 150 people in your database, you know, and if 30 of those are A-plus clients that give you 10 to 12 referrals a year, would that be enough to build a good business? You have to ask yourself, you know, if you can generate 30 times 12, would that be good? Okay, so the thing is that it's not the quantity of people you have in your database, it's the quality of the people, and it's the belly to belly, spending time with them and engaging them, like Clax had dinner with them last night, you know, and at the same breath is letting them know how you operate your business and tell them you need their referrals. You need, if you did a good job for them, you want to make sure that they refer other people to you. So you can do all the things that we've talked about this morning, but I think the biggest thing that in anybody's growth plan is how to take their database and make it more valuable, because that's how they're going to get more referrals.
Well, I mean, I think that works great for most, but not everybody's business is database driven. And I think is important is identifying what it is that is your source of business. Because there are plenty of agents that are doing $2 million in GCI and not doing any referral business, and it works for them, right? It's being so laser focused and truly understanding who, what, when, where, how, all of it about your particular business and being able to identify your strengths. One thing I will say, like going back to what Clax is, I had a moment where I was at the gym, like random gym, like down south, and this guy runs up to me. Really? Random gym. Guy runs up to me and he's like, "Becky, how have you been?" And I was like, "Great."
Who are you?
And he just looked, he goes, You're my agent. You're my agent. And I'm like, "I'm your agent?"
Oh, wow.
And he was like, "Yeah, you sold my house in 2008. You don't remember me?" And I'm like,
Oops.
and I was like, "Oh my God." And like, but I think now in that moment, what it also tells you is that what have you been doing right that you shouldn't stop? Because in the last shift, many agents pulled back. Many agents stopped farming. Many agents mailed less. Many agents spent less. And yet, are you taking away what truly helped your business and grew your business? And remember not to take away from that perspective. Because as much as you're looking for your opportunities, you're also looking for, why do they always come back? And you know what's sad? He sent me 4 clients, and I don't even remember him. Right? But it still goes back to, what did you do to impact somebody in such a way that they never forget you? And grow from there too, because I think that's just as important. Because, you know, when we get into that budget portion, everybody's trying to cut down their budget. Don't take away what gave to your business, same as don't take away the lead source that built your business. I think it applies in that case just the same.
Because obviously you like
good story.
I know, now you just gotta remember him. Go ahead.
I haven't seen him there again. Okay.
Strategy 3, capturing and protecting your business. Fortifying your lead source, communication, creating a communication plan with your clients, and then a servicing plan. Communication and servicing, not exactly the same. And then a value plan. Fortifying your lead source, and Becky brought to my attention, not so much in this office, but I have worked with some agents who only did new construction, right? And then when the market shifted and new construction kind of slowed down drastically, they didn't know how to fish. They didn't know how to go out and get business on their own because they're used to people walking into the subdivision. Another example of fortifying your lead source would be if you get a lot of leads from, let's say, lender sources. Market shifts, people get out of business. Just like that, your lead source dries up. If you are one lead source that I realize I have to fortify is my database, because I have been in extreme competition with our competitors. Redfin, Zillow, Offer, Knock, whoever online company Julie used, 044. What I'm saying is I have this database, but my clients are literally calling me saying, hey, I won't ask you for a commission reduction. I know you could get the job done, but I owe it to myself to see if I can save this $15,000. Those are conversations I wasn't prepared for, because who wouldn't want to save $15,000? Now, it's another spirited debate Becky and I have about, well, how do we know that she's really saving? How do we know that you can get more money? And the conversation I have with Becky is, in one case, my client did come to me and say, Amesha, I know you're the best person for the job, but I owe it to myself to see if I can save the money. So I scripted, clearly not at a high level because she's still with Redfin. The listing expired. Luckily, I got an opportunity, okay, to relist the house. However, Old Folkport didn't even call me. She just sold the house and moved to Maryland. So I didn't even have an opportunity to step to the table and say, how do you know you got the best price for your house? How do you know you saved X, Y, and Z? Right? The client's perception is that she was able to save money by not paying a commission. Not that she could get more money for her house had she used a quality agent. And what mattered in this case? Perception. That's all that matters. She never made a phone call to me. She never called. I never got an opportunity. So when I say fortifying my lead source, am I communicating to my clientele? I am strongly considering offering a discounted listing plan to my clients. I'm losing too much business. I lost over $50,000 this year to competitors.
Well, they have to know that you're willing to work with them for what's truly best for them.
Yes, that is very true. Am I willing to take 1% listings? Maybe.
Well, that's for you to decide.
That's for me to decide.
You need to know that you're willing.
Per
you
client,
need to be part of that conversation
per area.
that she wasn't a part of.
Yes, I need to communicate to that's part of fortifying. My database needs to know I understand the market has shifted. Let me share with you what the experience with knock is. Let me share with you what you could expect from a Zillow, what you could expect from a Redfin. Oh, and by the way, you want to save money and not have marketing and you want me to offer exactly what they offer? I have a discounted listing plan for you, and this is what it looks like. And I feel the tension in the room, but I need to be at the table. Yeah. The market is shit. That's the micro shift that has happened. Technology is doing our job, and my client didn't see the value in paying me $21,000 commission. And quite frankly, Becky and I agree to disagree on this. I'm not sure that she needed me. I'm not sure that she needed to pay me $21,000 to sell her 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage home in Old 4th Ward.
But there are some clients that have sold enough transactions that they could probably still do it. They just don't have the license.
And she
or
was
they
one
have a
of those
property
people
that's updated that will sell by itself. But of course, anyone can stick a sign in, but you have to put your value in terms of what else do you do to bring to the table.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that goes back to protecting your business. Is whatever you decide, whatever that looks like, is that what are your clients doing? What are your clients thinking about? Like, one of the things Virginia said in ALC that was so powerful that I was like, that's so true, was the idea of educating her client on who some of these disruptors are in the industry so that they can at least understand that there is still a risk. There is a perspective that you may not be weighing out, but I think that part of that is going into the shift and realizing how are you ensuring that you're actually capturing your past clients' business or any of the referrals, and how are you protecting your actual business? And that's part of that conversation. It isn't about am I right? Am I wrong? Are we agreeing to disagree? And any of that, it really is do I need to think about how am I truly protecting my business as the market shifts?
Because your client has a perception. Yeah. You don't have the marketing budget that Knock has, or Zillow, or Redfin. Your clients already have a perception about what value they bring to the table. They've communicated their value proposition very clearly. My client says, well, I could get an offer from Knock and not pay commission. And I said, perfect. I like to meet with you for a listing appointment, and I like you to have Knock's offer at the listing appointment. Have them make an offer, and I'll see you on Friday.
That's a skill.
Okay? So I get to the listing appointment, and Knock had the offer at $225. I said, okay, perfect. Now all we have to do is make a business decision. I'm not here to say whether Knock is good, bad. You don't have to make your bed every day. I'm not, none of that. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay, so I'm gonna pause. I don't have nothing else to say about this.
Okay.
You know my brain is going.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the, like, part of capturing and protecting your business is going back to saying, if I'm gonna be in business with the seller for 90 days, what is my plan? How am I going to communicate? What am I going to communicate? And plan ahead for those moments so you know exactly how to demonstrate your value to your seller. Because one of the things we said is, right now, if the market shifts, if you're in certain price points or if you're in certain parts of town, like, you've got to treat all your clients like a luxury listings. Think about luxury listings. Agents keep their sellers for like 2 years. What is causing those sellers to not fire their agent? What is causing those sellers to stick it out with the same agent of 2 years of not selling their home? It's your plan.
Expectations.
Yeah. It's your plan creating the right expectations so that your client understands that. Because sometimes, even in this market, how many of you know that even if I reduce the price $25,000, my house probably won't sell because there has not been a sale in my school district for 4 months in my price point. I've got a listing right now, I'm dealing with that. But even if she dropped the price, it would have mattered because within 75,000 above, 75,000 below, nothing has moved. Because then it goes back to timing. And sometimes reducing the price isn't the best advice.
I think you skipped over something very powerful. Did you hear what she just said? Nothing has sold in my school district in my price point in 4 months. How many of you haven't even taken the time to filter for a school district? We look at the subdivision, nothing is sold in the subdivision. She filtered for the whole school district within her price point. That's a very powerful statement. You talk about a perspective shift with your seller. Seller's mad their property isn't sold. Well, by the way, Mrs. Seller, I did the research and I found that actually nothing has sold in the whole school district in this price point. Is that not a perspective shift? It takes it off of you and it puts it on what? The market. But what if something did sell in the subdivision, but it was outside of the price point? Or like the branches, they have 2 different school districts in that subdivision. Again, that goes back to skill and being able to look at the market for really what it is, understanding what you're filtering for, really be masterful at the area that you're selling in, and then being able to convey that to the client to manage their expectation instead of price reduction. So maybe a challenge is not price reduction. Maybe the solution is not a price reduction.
It's just setting expectations sometimes.
If nothing is sold in 4 months, I don't think it's the price. Do you guys follow me?
Yes.
The next step is, well, what is it? I don't know. It's not my list and I didn't do research, but at least you know what it's not. And being able to tell the seller, because the seller may come to you and say, I just think we need to reduce the price. And you can say, well, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I don't think it's price, and this is why. Now you become the economist.
Now you become the protector of their equity. There's value in that perception. Like I always tell my clients, at the end of the day, regardless of what the result is, it's how you feel about your experience. I want you to walk away and know that at the end of the day, there isn't another agent that's going to get you a better price, or another agent that's going to fight as hard for you, another agent that isn't going to take a stand for your position than me. And those moments is where those relationships make a difference. In fact, the one that I ran into the gym, it was the same thing. I pulled him out of foreclosure, and it was that same conversation I had with him then. I'm going to fight for whatever your family needs to what is best for their next step. And that's the whole conversation along the way. That's the impact that I want to leave every single client with. And that goes back to, what is our communication plan? We've had to extend it out 90 days, and like, it's building that right now that I think makes a difference of actually protecting the business that you're actually able to gain in this market. Because those opportunities might get smaller, so all you need to ensure is that you close the highest percentage possible, and your skills will make that determination.
Liz?
Yeah, I just want to say it's kind of falls what you were starting, and also Becky, I lost a listing this year in the 600s to Redfin. And then I noticed after it had been on the market for a long time, it said expired. So I called her because I knew her. I knew them. I mean, it was my farm neighborhood. So I called her to see if I could, get in. And she told me, well, it really didn't expire. We're under contract. And she said it was the worst experience she'd ever had. She goes, you really get what you pay for. So
yeah, and yet you have the flip side where they're raving fans of Redfin. One of my closest friends is actually a partner agent for Redfin out in California, and that's a huge portion of our business. And I think I guess we'll move on to the next slide. And I think part of it goes back to adapting to who your competition is because, interesting. I was at a meeting with a loan officer on Wednesday. Monday. I'm sorry, today's Tuesday. I don't know what today is. Sorry. Today's Wednesday. I had breakfast on Monday. So I met with this loan officer, and he even said that what we realize is that, there are plenty of people out there that do a good job, but it's no longer about just doing a good job, because your competition is going to have good reviews, your competition is going to have bad reviews. Keller Williams has good reviews, Keller Williams has bad reviews, good agents, bad agents. And I think that isn't what we need to focus on, because you probably have a 50-50 chance that somebody that they know had a good and bad experience with whoever you are talking about, right? And I think that can't be a part of our conversation. I think it's adapting to who our competition is that what is your value? Because that's what buyers and sellers are looking for beyond what your competition is doing. If you can't overcome what they're able to demonstrate so much stronger than we are, because that's obviously why we're struggling, we're having the conversation, is that, because even so at the end, if Redfin takes 3 deals from you a year and takes it from each and every one of us, how does that impact our business? So we significantly. So that's why it makes that much more of a difference to really understand what is everybody else doing, what is OfferPad doing, what is Open Door, and being able to break it down to your client so they understand what is the trade-off. Sometimes money is enough, and sometimes respecting that. I had a seller, when I did his net sheet based upon the condition of his house, I couldn't find an investor for it. He still made more money. He ultimately still chose to use me on the buy side. Because what you don't want to do, I think, is show up and be like, oh, I know somebody that had a horrible experience with Redfin. Because what if they chose Redfin and they ended up with a good experience? What does that say about you? Or if you show up and they're like Amesha said, I just got to test it. Amesha respected it. Sometimes you have to respect the place that they're in. But what if you can educate them in such a way that their blind spots are revealed that creates your biggest opportunity to then close them?
Revealing their blind spots. You said that. Because I said, well, have the offer there when I get there so we know what we're working with. I'm here to make you make a strong business, here to help you make a strong business decision. So they got the offer. The offer was for $225. And I said, well, I believe the property will sell at $245. And, well, you wouldn't have to pay commission. So you back out $14,000. So we have about $6,000 on the table. Oh, but by the way, you do have to pay the other agents, the offer
buyer
fee.
Right.
Yeah. Their fee. So it came out to about $12,000 they were leaving on the table. I gotta finish this thought, because the way my brain. And so I said, so I'm just curious, if somebody knocked on your door right now and said, I'll pay you $12,000 to make your bed for 30 days, would you take it? Because ultimately you said you would consider not because, or was it open door? It's open door. You would consider them because you wouldn't have to show your house. But would you show your house for $12,000? She goes, well, when you say it like that, I'm here to help you make a decision. Because for some people, they can afford to pay $12,000 not to have to make their bed. And if you're one of those people, then you should take this offer. And when you sell the house, then we'll go buy your next house. And the husband is like, shit, $12,000? Oh, let's sign the paperwork. Great. But had I said, oh no, don't use open door, don't, the bad experience, like, at the end of the day, I haven't addressed their real concern, which was convenience and making, their perception was the agent commission was they were going to save agent commission. Their perception of agent commission, they didn't see that the agent commission was only $14,000, but they were leaving $20,000 on the table, half of which they still were going to have to pay. Just breaking the numbers down.
And also breaking down the risk, because that same contract that you get from Open Door is they don't have to buy, and if they don't buy, you get to keep $1,000. So you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, even though you didn't have to do all that, when you go to buy, you still have the risk of being a contingency buyer or just hoping and praying that they actually close because you're buying without a contingency. Many of them don't even realize that. That there's a specific clause in there that says we don't have to buy, and if we don't, you get to keep our earnest money, and that's all you get.
So how many people in here have a Zillow offer, a knock offer, an open door offer, and an offer pad offer? How many of you guys have their contracts? One. Okay? This is your competition, and my favorite quote, I'm sure Kate didn't make this up, but she says it a lot, so I'll give her the credit. You cannot influence something you don't understand.
You need to see all those contracts.
But the way these are, they're different business models. I mean, OfferPad is buying your house. Open Door buys your house. Knock buys your new house.
Right.
And then Zillow offers, I'm not sure what they do. But they're a little bit different.
Yeah,
they're different.
It doesn't matter that they're different. It matters that you
Knock's going to have you bent over because they're going to own this house, and you're still trying to sell this one. They've got all the liens against this old house too, so you're going to be in a real.
I think the point we're making is that in order for you to intelligently script your client into making the best decision for them, you have to understand what they're signing, what they're being offered.
Right.
And don't make assumptions, because every seller's offer is different. Right. Doesn't matter whether they're even open door across open door, the offers are different. And so sometimes it's as simple as, let me see the contract before I come or while I'm there. Like, I sat down with the seller, went through it and went through the pros and cons. I got the best review from this guy because it came back to, I didn't pressure him. I really was looking for what made that difference for his family. And in that conversation, you're able to actually build rapport because he hired me instead of another agent that he was interviewing because I actually tried to understand the place that he was in. The other agent was like, it's just a bad idea, but they didn't understand because ultimately in this particular case, it was a $2,500 difference that I felt like I could actually get him. And it made more sense for him to do that. It's not black and white. It's in assuming what the other competition is doing and that they really are taking from your client doesn't always work into your advantage or in your best interest.
And you didn't have to develop this skill just 3 years ago, did you? No, this is something you didn't have to be concerned about. Liz, cost you $18,000. For me, it cost me $15,000 with the Redfin. I did end up relisting it, but I didn't sell it, I leased it. So it still cost me money because they got it in the spring. And if I would have gotten it in the spring, it would have sold. So it still cost me $12,000 commission. Not having built my skill set. I knew these business models have been in business for at least a year, all of them. And I didn't take the time over the last year. I had to lose like 2 or 3 deals. And I was okay
Notice a
now.
pattern.
This is time now. Well, I need to do so. I need to get my scripts together. I need to understand this. I need to be able to engage my client at a higher level. I'm losing too much money. Remember, I'm only working with a 150 person database. That's it. Either I need to go get more leads or I need to stop losing business to the database I currently have, to these people. I would encourage you to secure these contracts, understand, so you can intelligently have a conversation with your clients. Next. Money. Okay. You keep going?
No.
Is it?
Amesha is passionate about the budget model. Passionate.
I'm passionate about paying taxes. Listen, it's not about the budget model. The money conversation I want to have is if you really want to set yourself up for retirement and capitalize off the market, you need to be at least current on your taxes, on a payment plan, credit needs to be solid, not over encumbered with credit card debt. You guys, we are all making good money right now, and that may or may not always be the case as the market shifts. And if you want to be prepared to capitalize on the opportunities that come up in every shift, you need to be financially positioned to do so. Period. I'm 1,000% like, I'm gonna give you listen, I owe a lot of money in taxes. I took some money down to the IRS, they took it, did not give it back. It was for them, but it was for this last tax year. They were like, no ma'am, we're gonna keep this, and by the way, you owe us, I ain't gonna tell y'all how much, but a lot more. I said, okay. I go to my lender, I said, listen, on my business plan, I am slated to buy an investment property this year. How can I make this happen with tax debt? He said, go, get on a payment plan, okay? Make 3 payments, credit good, you can make a move. Now, there's other ways to buy property. I'm talking about the conventional route. You can go hard money, you can do all that. I'm just talking about the conventional route. There's agents in here who don't own a house. There's no reason why you should be selling real estate and you don't own a house. The only reason why somebody in this room would not own a house is because your credit is bad, you owe taxes, you don't have a down payment. I can't think of another reason. It's a financial reason why you guys don't own a house. Or you had a foreclosure or bankruptcy, which is still a money issue, okay? The gap is shrinking for preparation time. It's shrinking. You guys probably have less than a year, maybe 18 months to really prepare yourself to capitalize on the shift. Did you guys all know that you can buy a house with tax debt? Did you know that? Yeah. No, you did. If you did not know that, you can. All you have to do is go get your taxes filed. Don't be afraid of how much you owe. You owe what you owe. Get a good accountant. No, I don't have a recommendation. Just go get you a good one. File them. Take the amount you owe, put it on a payment plan, make 3 payments, get your score over 640, and go buy you a house. Or be positioned to buy a house. Y'all all agents, you know how to take it from there. But what I'm experiencing is that there's people who are not making a move because they're immobilized by fear of how much they owe in their taxes. Okay? Then we step into now. Start paying your quarterly taxes so that you don't have that problem moving forward. Okay?
Notice how quiet the room is.
Yeah,
Did you know the IRS takes payments monthly? You don't have to wait until quarterly. Just saying.
Can I just add a point to that? I was gonna say that's a problem I struggled with, and the quarterly thing does not work for me. I have a tax account, but a closing fall through or whatever, and I tap into it. So what I've started doing, each commission check I get, you can go on the IRS and just make the tax payment.
Yes.
End of story. Because it just doesn't work for me. I
get
save
that.
it and then I go and tap into it.
And I think it's a bigger conversation now because we have seen people see significant increases in their income. Like, I think first year Dave and I got married, and he was like, how much are we paying in taxes? I was like, we had a really great year at work, but if you didn't plan because you based it on your previous income, like for me, I've seen my income double year over year and not realize that oh my God, I've got to pay $80,000 in taxes. You don't realize that when you're used to only paying $40,000. And I think that's part of it, but I think the whole budget thing goes back to is that, are you being strategic in your own finances? Because how many people in here own at least one investment property? Okay, so we're all out here building wealth for our clients and not even doing it for ourselves. You know, what was powerful for Dave and I was like, wow, our investment property actually pays our mortgage. Like, to have that moment that you've created time and time again for your clients, and you didn't look at your own money that way. Are you looking for how you're positioning yourself for passive income? What if this industry changes so dramatically that all you're gonna make is what you're making right now? Is that really going to set you up for retirement? How many of you know agents who are working at the age of 75? Because they probably didn't own investment property. Are you really looking at your money and expecting a return to ensure that you are able to have investment properties, more than one? Ideally, you should be buying one every single year. And is that part of your plan? I mean, that's part of my growth plan. I don't know about you, but that's our commitment, is to consistently buy one year over year. And that's part of that budget. Shoot, we paid so much in the IRS this year, we got money back. We're excited, like, oh, down payment for our investment property. Like, what is your plan around that?
That's goals. That's goals right there. Like,
we should all have them.
I haven't seen a refund since I've been born. I've never seen a refund my entire life.
I think with that, when you talk about the shift and the change in the market, there's also ways, if you do have investment properties, that, you know, whether you have a long-term rental or a short-term rental or whatever the strategy is with the investment property, there are shifts that are happening in the market that you can actually capitalize more money on your investment if you just change how you approach that investment property. Like for us, we had a long-term tenant in there, and we went with short-term property. We've made double money what we're making.
I wanted to spend some time on this because I'm in this space. I make way too much money not to have investment property right now. I make way too much money to owe the IRS the amount of money that I make just due to poor discipline. And since we laying it out there, you know, when you owe over $50,000, they freeze your passport. That was my only motivation for going down there. That's my own. I said I need to get it under 50. How much to get it under 50? Listen, I'm being honest. I'm not the only one in here who owe taxes. Y'all can be quiet all you want.
Right.
Listen.
Here's the flip side. Like, for me, from a business perspective.
This is from a business perspective. If you are not financially positioned to buy investment property, you are compromising your financial security. Because if you have $15,000, $17,000, $10,000 a month in passive income, you're not pressed when the market shifts. Do you understand, if the only income you have is coming from the real estate market and it shifts and you have no safety net, what kind of quality of life does that leave you with? If you have your base, at least your base, if it takes $5,000 to run your life and you have that coming in investment property and you don't have closings for 4 months, I remember when the market shift, I went 6 months without a closing one time. 15 short sales pending. You know they take 2 years to close. Unless Becky doing it. Do you understand? I'm passionate about this because you're going to see people go get jobs. You're going to see people go get jobs because they cannot support themselves with how infrequent they're going to the closing table. But if you position yourself to start investing now and don't be afraid of how much you owe. I'm just talking about taxes. We can talk about credit card debt, we can talk about other things, scaling down. I'm just talking about the taxes because I know that has hindered me personally from buying a second property. So I'm being transparent with you guys. I'm not asking you to share your business like I'm sharing mine, but I'm sharing this with you because I want you to do something about it. And I want you to know that 3 months on a payment plan, if you owe significant taxes that you cannot pay right now, you can correct that and still go buy something. That option is available to you. And
Or you can buy an investment property that pays your taxes.
yes,
Don't you have to have 20% down to get investment property?
that's another conversation. We talk about that, or listen. Talk
But it's
about
part
that
of
later.
being creative and strategic in the market. It's
Yes.
finding money. Doesn't always have
Because
to be
you
yours.
can actually buy an investment property with 10% down as a second home.
You only have to spend 6 months on
No.
No, you don't actually.
Well, it goes back to, it's not how much you make, it's how much you save, that's just, and then investing in yourself.
Many people are not saving.
Or investing in yourself, I think is a huge one, which would be my example is, you know, my business has been very strong, but the one thing I haven't done is reinvested back into the business. And, you know, in the last shift, many agents were kind of taking out, and I know a couple of really big agents that took that time to invest into the business, to grow their business. And for some, if you're like me, this is the best time to really reinvest into the business and actually spend the money to do it. We've enjoyed a really long time of, you know, high profitability in our business, but now it's the how do we actually double our business? And it's going to go back to our strategies of how and what we're investing our money back into our business looks like.
Because I didn't Court invest in her farm when the market shifted.
Yeah, Courtney Newton
Courtney
is a
Newton
huge example.
Poured more money into her farm
I
when
think she
other
like
agents
doubled
were
down.
pulling money out of marketing. And I'm sure everybody in here knows the extent of Courtney's business right now. If you don't, just drive anywhere in Cobb. You'll see a sign, I'm sure. So
And that goes back to having focus on exactly what your business needs and knowing what it needs.
I think we can wrap up. Any questions, concerns, feedback? Yes?
I have a couple things, but one thing for you or for anybody that owes IRS debt, look at the interest rate you're paying, it's pretty significant. And there is a one-time
abatement.
Yes, they will pay you back a significant chunk of the interest you pay. You can ask for it one time in your whole life. So pay off that debt, they'll send you back a nice check, and never ever be in debt again.
So pay it off on the most expensive year.
No, they're giving you a refund on any penalties you pay with interest. No, pay what you owe. I've never shorted when I owe somebody, but,
okay.
And there are a million different, as many agents as there are here, there's that many ways to do your business. Don't get hung up on what somebody else is doing, figure out what works for you, and stay laser focused on it. I quit watching what everybody else is doing and just stay focused on my own business, and it works. But you can find a new quick thing every month, and then you're chasing all these things and you're never making any money.
Yeah, your business will drop when you do.
You guys, we're all done. Thank you guys for coming today.
Thank you guys so much.
Are you exhausted?
I'm hot. Did they turn the air off in here?
No, but you're the one.
No. Good job, boss.
I like to be fashionable in your numbers.